Hey guys, it's Di, and this is an authentication guide for Balenciaga. This is kind of a follow-up to my Balenciaga beginner's guide. And if you're new to the brand or maybe looking in the pre-owned market, I just wanted to make a starter guide for things to look for to make sure that you're looking at authentic Balenciaga items. This is in no means supposed to be a all-inclusive guide, and I definitely 100% would say to always seek out the advice of authenticators, multiple ones if possible. There's a number of paid services out there, and then also a number of places and forums where you can get opinions for free as well if you post either items that are out for sale in the world or at consignment stores. But I want to just post some general things for you to look for and just a starting guide. If you're new to the brand and maybe have questions for what to look for, this may be helpful for you, and also let me know what additional questions you have. So let me just start by saying my main function as an authenticator was actually Balenciaga for a number of years, and I retired, or whatever you want to call it, from authenticating before I had my kids, right before I had my kids, because I just simply did not have time for it anymore. But I did really enjoy authenticating bags and helping people out, and especially for Balenciaga, I always felt at a certain point it was really kind of easy at that time period because the super fakes weren't out there in mass quantities at that time. Balenciaga was still kind of a new, hot, fresh thing, and so the fakes that were out there were really quite bad and very, very easy to tell. You need to be careful because I kind of look at fakes in a couple different classifications. I'll go into this all in kind of an overview of why I believe you should buy authentic only in a different video, but there's the fake bags that are kind of a mishmash of maybe different brands and different styles and don't even exist in the real world, that you just look at that and you go, what is that? But they still try to slap a label on there and say that it's a certain brand. There's the fakes that are trying to be a certain bag. They actually use a brand or a trademark, and they're trying to come off as a certain style bag, but there's a lot of things wrong with it. And then there's a newer classification for fakes, or after a brand's been around for a while, it's what I call a super fake. And that's when they're starting to really work on the details to get them correct, and you really need a close eye or multiple pairs of eyes to look at the bags and make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. So first of all, let me say I have here a 2007 Aquamarine City. 2007 is one of my favorite years for Balenciaga, and it is, I don't know, just one of my kind of years, is the reason why I fell in love with Balenciaga, I guess you could say. And the neat thing about Balenciaga is that the styles are generally the same from season to season. They may discontinue some styles, they may add in new styles. They've got a lot of new styles since I stopped authenticating the Velo and the Town and all kinds of new things. But the nice thing is that they release different colors every single season. So if you have a really close eye for color and you know what you're looking for, if you have that color catalog in your head, you can authenticate pretty quickly by knowing exactly what the color is supposed to look like. And then secondarily, looking at the overall composition of the bag, the details, the hardware, and that sort of thing. A lot of bags you can rule out because you can say, if it's trying to pretend to be a city and it has a V on it and nothing in 2007 was produced that was anywhere near that color, you can automatically rule it out. So that's the nice thing about Balenciaga, is because certain colors are only made certain season. Now, it isn't as kind of easy peasy as that, because obviously you have to have that color catalog in your head to do that, and I've been out of it a number of years. I kind of lose some of that catalog information as time goes on, and they add a lot of colors, each season. So since I've been out of it, they've added a lot of colors. But I go into depth on these tags in a different video, so I'll link those down below. I also go over the terminology in the beginner's guide. So if the terminology is new to you, you may want to watch that one first, because this one I'm just going to be breezing through the different areas that you should have pictures of to give to an authenticator, or that you should be looking at yourself to start to kind of gauge, is this something I want to send to someone to get their opinion or not. And a lot of bags, if they are fake, you may be able to rule them out yourself and not waste any time on them, and that sort of thing. So again, always get lots and lots of opinions, and here we go. So the overall composition of the bag, Balenciaga leather, is soft, and I'm talking about the motorcycle bags specifically in this video, within the past decade, the ones that it comes out. And it is very specific looking. If you're a collector or if you're an authenticator, you can probably look at a bag and get a feel of whether or not it's the Chevre leather or the Agnew leather, and they did that switch in between 2007 and 2008. And so it should not look plastic at all. It should be a very soft feeling leather, very supple. And if you see a bag in person or you smell a bag in person, this is the part where you're going to think I'm crazy. Balenciaga leather just has this intoxicating, very specific smell. Now the dyes can change that smell ever so slightly. The blue dyes actually from 2007 had a very specific, ever so slightly kind of dye smell to them. But overall, that Chevre leather or that specific leather that they use has such a specific feel and smell to it that if you see a bag in person, you can almost authenticate specifically on that. Obviously, if you're looking at the bag online, you can't do that. But number one, look and make sure it doesn't look plasticky. A Balenciaga bag should not look plasticky. I mean, this is a very specific soft leather. The next thing that I'm going to show you is the rivets. And I talk about this area, what this is called, in my beginner's guide, but this is your rivet area right here. And the notches are very specific. It's a circle shape, and then there's notched out, kind of almost like a little rectangle shape here on the underneath side. The 2005 and back bags are just a flat circle with no notches, and then there are notches from 2006 on. So you want to take a picture of this area of the bag and make sure those notches are very clean cut. Also over here at the side there's the bail, and this is the area that I talked about in the beginner's guide right here at this area. If you're taking the picture for an authenticator, you need to have the bail kind of flat where they can see it like this. That's really the best angle, or down along the side of the bag like this. What you're looking for with this area is this should be a ring that is fully connected. There's no open seam that is on that ring. There is a piece of hardware here that connects this metal loop to the bag. This is a detachable clip. You can see you can attach or detach to the bag, and it has a rounded shape with a tight clip area that should fit flush up against each other right here. So this is what this clip area looks like all the way around. It comes down to a central point here and then has a rounded area at the bottom. This area on the bail has a rounded loop, and then this rounded loop is connected to the bag through a little piece that is kind of loose. You can see that it can go up and down. And this area underneath has kind of almost a little spiral, and so it's very specific spiral. There should only be one loop, and this is a very tight piece of metal. I shouldn't be able to work my fingers in there and work it apart. It's a very tight, very sturdy, rigid piece of metal. So you can see here that it's flat on the top, and this piece is movable in between. And then there's one little spiral here that goes down to the bail. Now on the super fakes, like the bad fakes that were out a number of years ago, this area right here is always squared off. If you get a picture of the bail and this is a rectangle, immediately throw the pictures in the trash. It is a fake bag. This bail area should be an oval, so you can see these side shapes are rounded, and these are always a rounded shape for bags that have a shoulder strap. So the bail area is really an area that you can spend some time on and really get a feel for the bag and making sure that all of those different components look good on the bag. So sometimes the shoulder strap ends up missing and you don't have that piece of the bag to look at. So you have to look at the other areas of the bag. On the bags that have the handles with the whip stitching, it's usually a very tight whip stitch. Singly over on the regular hardware bags, a double whip stitch, 2 laces going through for giant hardware. And then it comes down here to a very tight knot. You can see that it's tied in here underneath where the two pieces of leather come together. This shouldn't be a sloppy piece of string hanging down, way down by the rivets here. It should be a tight whip stitch with no slack and that sort of thing. The handles, they may be sturdy like this if the bag hasn't had a lot of use. They may be a little bit darkened, that's fine. They may be even really loosened, that's fine. That's something that naturally happens with the leather. The tags I talk a little bit more about in a few other videos, so I'm going to go ahead and link those down below. If you want more information on the tags that are in some of the styles specifically, I will link those. But in general, you want to look at your fonts. I talk about this in my Louis Vuitton video, and one of the key aspects of authentication for me is the stamping and the fonts. You want to have that good eye for what sort of font is supposed. So the numbers are almost an outline of a number instead of just being a single line. For the older bags, 2007 and back, you're going to have this 925 imprint here indicating a silver tag. They later changed to just a metal tag, so that disappears in some of the later bags. Back here, you're going to want to look at the font of different authentic bags and making sure that you recognize the stamp font back here for the numbers. It's a very specific font, so you're going to look at your ones. They have little tails at the top and flat bottoms. The 5 rounds around a certain way. The 7 has a little tail at the bottom, and the 4 is kind of an old style 4, and then your imprint goes on. So I really try to make yourself as comfortable with how these numbers are imprinted, and that is just basically looking at a lot of different pictures online and getting a feel for what the authentic font looks like. Then down here on the bottom, Made in Italy is all in lowercase, even Italy is lowercase, and so that is what that looks like there on the back. On the interior, all regular edition, so I'm talking not limited edition, not special edition bags, but if it is a regular edition bag, it's going to have a black cotton canvas interior here in the interior part with a zipper pocket here in the city, and also it has a black canvas here in the front of the front pocket as well. So if it's a regular edition bag, it has a black cotton canvas interior regardless of the outside color of the bag. The color of the interior should not match the bag. It doesn't have to match the bag. Obviously, if it's a black bag, it's going to have a black interior. That's fine. But in general, the inside of your bag should look like this. Also, another area that you can look at, either for authentication purposes or to help you figure out what color it is, because some bags fade over time. I've had a lot of people ask, is my other city, which I'll show here in a minute, it looks like a gray color, but it's because it faded out a lot. But one area you can look to see, is this a plum? Is it an anthracite? Is it a black? What is this? Is to look at the zipper tape. The zipper tape does match the color of the bag. You can look at this zipper tape and you can see that the color cloth on this zipper matches the aquamarine color on the bag. So let me get my other city. So using my black city as an example, you can look at this and you can see that the zipper tape is a black fabric. So that's one way that you can know for sure that this is indeed a black bag. Anthracite's going to have a slightly different colored zipper tape, plum, or any sort of gray, a brown. They're all going to have zipper tape that matches the bag. So that is one area on the bag that is color matched. So the interior will not be, but this zipper tape right here will match the bag and will match the color of the bag. So that's also a great way just to figure out, maybe if you're looking at a bag that's faded, you're trying to figure out what the original color was, that is actually a great way to figure out the initial color. Regardless of whether the tag is a silver tag or a leather tag, there will be a piece of black thread, which is the type of thread that attaches that final piece to the bag, and then also you can see that the seam is, there's no open seam here on the bottom. And then also, if you do get a bag that has tags with it, either whether it's supposed to be new or used, these are some of the items that you'll see that can come with the bag. And for this Balenciaga tag, this is a common tag that you can see on authentic or fake bags. And for authentic bags, the tag or the thread holding the tag on the bag should be black. This thread should never be white. If you see a bag with a picture, when it's for sale picture, and it has a white piece of thread hanging from the tag, close out, report the listing. It is not an authentic bag. This piece of thread is never white. Looking at the hardware on the bag for the regular hardware here, regular hardware has a specific depth to it, a specific height, and it's flat on the top. So this is just the traditional regular hardware. There is now the G12 hardware, which looks a little bit different, and there's also been covered hardware, which looks a little bit different. It actually was like leather covered, the same color as the bag. But for just leather hardware for the smaller size, you can see here that it is a rounded hardware and has a flat top. So you shouldn't be, looking for anything with giant spikes or anything like that. Now the giant hardware and the G12 hardware does have like a texture to it. So you can see here that it has a texture, but it has a similar shape to where it is a rounded hardware with a flat top. So that's just another thing that you can look for to familiarize yourself with the hardware. Again, with the giant hardware bail, you can see here at the side, it also will be rounded and also have the spirals with the tight loop here in the center and a movable piece here. So that is something that's standard on any bag that has a shoulder strap and a really, really key place to get a picture of. The rivets on this bag are the same. You have a rounded piece with a notch in them, so you definitely want to get a picture of those as well. And then another area that you can look at on the bag is this rounded area. It should have the similar shape to the bail here at the side that connects the handles of the bag to the rest of the bag. So you can see that this is a rounded shape and this is a rounded shape. So those are similar. So those are the main points that I wanted to touch on this video, just to really give you a start and a feel for what you should be looking for in an authentic Balenciaga bag. And let me know if you guys have any questions down below. I just really wanted to kind of put this general information out there if you're new to brands and just getting a feel for what you should be looking for in authentic, what kind of pictures you should be getting for an authenticator. This should be able to give you a start of where to go with it. Definitely, if you're getting pictures, you should get a picture of the front of the bag, a picture of the back of the bag, of the corners, the bottom of the bag, and then these key authentication areas like the bail of the bag, the rivets on the bag, the any interior details like pockets and things like that, and then also the font on any markings in the bag, the leather tag on the inside, that sort of thing is also important. And then one thing to mention, I don't really look at zippers that often because zippers, suppliers are easy to get, things from, but these do have Lampo zippers on them, so if you just want to get a picture of the zipper, I think authenticators have really stopped looking at zippers. I know for authenticating Marc Jacobs bags, Riri zippers used to be a real big thing, but for a lot of these bags, there's so many other markers that you can look at on the bag. We look at the pictures of the zipper if they're available, but it's not one of the main places that I look at. So hopefully this has been helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below, and thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.